Thank you. Please be seated. It has been a pleasure and privilege for me to work alongside our guest speaker over the last couple of years in and around Staffordshire and the Black Country. And so this morning we welcome the Reverend Rachel Parkinson, who is the chair of the Wolverhampton and Shrewsbury district of the Methodist Church. With reference to previous comments about football, one of Rachel's claims to fame is that when she was superintendent of the Methodist circuit in Leicester, Leicester City won the Premier League. And since she relocated to Wolverhampton, the Wolves have been promoted to the Premier League and had an amazingly successful season just finished. Rachel, would you please consider not only speaking to us, join me please in welcoming Rachel this morning. Thank you.
I'm really sorry to disappoint at least one person in the hall, but my niece is an ardent supporter of the Red and White Army. So if I do come back again, there you go, I shall try. Well, Lord Lieutenant, Lord Mayor, honoured guests and ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege for me to stand here this morning. And I've been surprised by the emotion that this has brought about in me in the last couple of weeks as I've been contemplating coming and speaking to you. And I found myself really emotional. I knew what I wanted to say to you. I wanted to say to you, I'm from here, I'm from Stoke. I wanted to say, my granddad was a master turner on Wedgwoods, and my dad was a fireman working in Longton and Hanley, and my mum was a social worker at the City General and Royal Infirmary Hospitals before they changed their names. I wanted to say to you, this is home. And all this despite the fact that I've lived 2/3 of my life away from the city. But still, Stoke looms large and positive in the story of who I am and where I belong. And one thing that I think unites every person in the hall this morning is that you all share the privilege and the responsibility of trying to help the people of Stoke-on-Trent find good answers to those questions which are relevant to every person on the planet. Who am I? Where do I belong? And that's a vital enterprise, not only for the flourishing of individuals, but actually for the flourishing of the health and welfare of the whole city. Because it's true that there are plenty of challenging answers around. Who am I? I'm forgotten, unwelcome, overlooked, abused. Who am I? I'm impoverished, disenfranchised, isolated, scapegoated, unloved. Where do I belong? To the gang, to the streets, in my company's pocket, to the past, to my pimp, to the country I had to leave behind, or just nowhere. I have nowhere to belong. Now, as church, we follow a leader who specialised in helping people find new and better questions, answers to the question, who am I? The Gospels are full of stories where Jesus took outsiders and made them insiders, welcomed enemies as friends, took those afflicted with disease and made them healthy. And he did this not by preaching at them, but by looking each one in the eye. Straight after Easter, we're thinking about how the church carried on Jesus' mission once he descended into heaven and was no longer around physically. Jesus took Simon, a hot-headed Galilean fisherman who had only just betrayed him, and made him Peter, caretaker of the new community. Jesus took Saul, someone zealous in the persecution of the new Christian church, and renamed him Paul, the one who would turn a regional movement into a global one. Jesus saw the potential beyond the very obvious flaws. He redirected, he repurposed. And when church is at its best, we are helping people see themselves anew through the eyes of Jesus, and therefore to claim new identity as beloved and uniquely precious sons and daughters of God. We're helping them to recognise their God-given potential beyond the very obvious human frailty. And we're challenging people, including ourselves, to step up and play their part in building the kingdom, the community of God. We can set up the structures to do these things, but I think the real work of transformation comes in the context of personal relationships, one-on-one. This week saw the death of Jean Vanier, the founder of L'Arche Community, which draws together people with and without learning disabilities to share a common life. And his has been a wonderful and world-changing ministry. Vanier's definition of loving someone is showing them their beauty, their worth, and their importance. And he also believed that our world, this city of Stoke, is changed one heart at a time. Now, from my personal perspective, the churches I work with are trying to do world-changing work with ever-decreasing resources, particularly in terms of personnel. But I know this is as nothing compared to the pressures many of you are under in this room. John has just referred to it in the case of the police. My husband works in the rehabilitation of ex-offenders. My youngest son is just beginning a career in residential childcare. I see the strain in the systems. They bring it home with them sometimes. I know that services are not only pared to the bone, but in some areas the bone itself is being whittled away, and there is only so much you can streamline. The point I would want to make is that public health and welfare is anyway not only about the effective and efficient delivery of services, it's about the answer people, not service users or clients, but people, pick up to that question they are implicitly asking us as they engage with the local council, their MP, the education or healthcare system, the police. Who do you say that I am? Who am I to you? Am I a statistic? Am I a nuisance? Am I a problem to just be made to go away? Or actually, am I someone valuable? Am I someone with dignity? And the answer they receive to that question through that interaction might be even more valuable to them than whatever practical help can then be offered. So how do you keep a strained infrastructure not only on its feet, but also delivering humanely in that one-on-one way? How do we provide good answers to people finding it increasingly complex to maintain their own identity in a diverse and fragmented society? They're not easy questions. They're beyond customer service training or putting at the top of a letter, "You are important to us." But it is about culture and tone, and the people who set the culture and tone are in this room. But I want to say that before you can sustain a loving approach to others and lead your teams and your staff in that, you need to be reminded every day that you yourself are loved and valued. So let me remind you, you are loved. You are precious. You are of infinite worth. You are loved. Let that be the source of vocation. Who am I? Well, also, where do I belong? The church's answer to everyone is, you belong to God, and therefore, importantly, we all belong to one another. This Easter, Methodist women in Britain are supporting Christians in need across the world, and the project that they're doing is called Longer Tables, Lower Fences. I love that image for the church, the fact that we extend the table as we invite everybody to share in the feast of God's provision, and we just lower any fence that is keeping people away. But I think it's a great image for the city too. One big street party throughout Stoke-on-Trent with everyone who calls the city home welcome. It reminds me of the street parties in 1977, the Queen's Silver Jubilee. I remember the mug I got. I remember the cactus that I planted in the mug. But it also reminds me that a great deal has changed since 1977. I was in the top class at Hartsill Junior School, about to go on to Thistley Hough. But unless my memory is playing tricks on me, there wasn't a single classmate of mine not born locally. There was only one person I remember sharing a class with who was not white. The nearest I came to experiencing migration was when I was in a class with someone from onstage at Stoke Sixth Form College. Now, a primary and secondary school I work with in Wolverhampton have pupils speaking respectively 35 and 52 different languages. They're both brilliant schools. I know them because they're both schools of sanctuary. I suppose there are schools in the city that are similar to that. If we held a giant street party for the city today, the meal laid out is not only oatcakes, lobby and rice pies, but also falafel, borscht, dals and tagines. And there's no doubt that this global diversity experienced locally can make questions of identity and belonging more complex to work out, not only for those with roots in other places, but also for those who can trace their family back generations in Tunstall. And one thing I observe about the church is that we are not always good at allowing people to move from the status of guest to the privilege of host. We welcome people into the sitting room, but we don't invite them to take their coats off. It's good to be able to receive. It's good to be able to receive the services that the church and the city provide, but it's integral to a healthy sense of identity and belonging to be able to make your own contribution too. I note that in what I wanted to tell you, I wanted to say what my family have given to the city as artisans and as public servants. I'm proud of what we've done as well as what we've received. It's one of the reasons that, for instance, the Methodist Church and others is calling on the government at the moment to give asylum seekers the right to work. That's through encounters such as one with an asylum seeker called Ahmed, who said, I want to work in this country because I want to find my identity. My identity is my work. If I can work, I can improve my life and I can help other people. Now it takes ingenuity, imagination, and a willingness to take risks to work towards a situation where everyone in the city is enabled to make a contribution to the common life. And if this is a vision for the city shared with the church, it must go beyond merely maximising employment, as it needs to include, for instance, the very young, the very old, those with infirmity, and the differently abled. But it's worth trying to break down those barriers, worth taking those risks, so that we don't have divides in this city between those who give and those who receive, those who depend and those who provide, those who truly belong and those who are merely accommodated. One final word. I know I speak as one where the questions about who am I and where do I belong are all for those people outside the room. But one final word of identity. I'm talking to myself, but I'll let you eavesdrop. It's often assumed that Jesus' message was mainly for the poor, but that's not true. A lot of Jesus' words were for the powerful and rich, people like me. In essence, he says to me, your position and your possessions can disappear overnight. Beware you don't build your identity on the basis of them. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be. Invest your identity, your sense of belonging, in those things that will last. Thank you.